Welcome here to a very special Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora spotlight broadcast inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Heritage Hill, our exclusive studio partner. You'll find them on 3149 Sweet Road in Pompey, New York at their brew house, and you will find them right by the airport, very easy to get to on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York at Sweetheart Corner. So with all of that being said here, I am honored and privileged to put the spotlight on the SMU Mustangs and their football program with head coach Rhett Lashlee, who is no stranger to the broadcast. Coach, how we doing?
Oh, what's up, Dan? We're doing good. We're 1 week from practice number one for us, so we're ramping up, getting ready to go.
And you and I, we met last year, and we're down in Arlington, and I get to have the opportunity of speaking with you. Obviously, I've covered SMU the whole time they've been in the American Athletic. You and I got to meet in recent history here, and then we've done Zooms along the way, and now we're doing this again, but take one letter out and put another one in, take out a vowel for a consonant, and now it's not the AAC preview, it's the ACC. What has that been like? I know your team's got to prepare and do the things that they do, but there has been a shift from one conference to another. How do you feel that within your program?
I think you feel internally there's just a lot of excitement, from our staff and our players, because if you're a competitor, you want to compete at the highest level, and now we get to do that. I mean, in a lot of ways, the way we run our football program hasn't changed.
Yeah.
But since January, we've been acting as if we're in the ACC, the way we recruit, the way we do all of those things. I'd say recruiting is the number one thing that changed, even though officially July 1st is when we entered the league, because we were preparing for this season in this league. And so I think from the way, we're fortunate to have a lot of guys returning from last year. I think we only had lost 11 guys to graduation. We were very fortunate. We didn't lose a lot of guys in the portal. A lot of guys wanted to stay. And so I've said it, we're defending champs. Now, I don't know what we're defending champs of, but we're defending champs. And, it's a lot of guys that know what it takes to win consistently and win at that level are going to be on this team that, we're excited to see where we stand and how we measure up as we go into the ACC.
Yeah, you said that, you feel that level of excitement and there has been some change and you felt that in recruiting. What changes for the positive from a move going from the AAC to the ACC?
Yeah, I think, look, the obvious ones you would think. We're now in one of, at least by all the financials, one of the top three conferences in America. And so, our first home game in the league this year is against Florida State. So, we play Florida States and Miami's and Clemson's and everyone else in our league. It's a fantastic league. And I just think it just changed. That was really the last thing we didn't have as a program to kind of put ourselves back on the national stage at the highest level. We had been winning. We won more games than any Division I school in the last 5 years in the state of Texas. We won a championship. We finished ranked. We got a brand new, well over $100 million facility we're moving into. Like, there was so much momentum. We have an excellent school. We're in the city of Dallas. But when you start recruiting specifically these high school kids, which we can do here with our location,
Yeah.
you get to the top 3 to 5, but then they say, well, I want to play on the biggest stage. And they couldn't do that at SMU. And now they can. And so I think that's why if you look right now as the season gets started, we're top 25 in just about every recruiting metrics category. And that stuff doesn't, mean a lot other than we've never had a top 25 class, probably never had a top 30 class. And we're already in that conversation and we've never played a game simply by the fact that we're now in the ACC. And so I think that's where you see the biggest bump. We kind of built the program up as a transfer destination. Those opportunities won't change, but now it allows us to sign full classes, elite classes out of high school, to where maybe we can go into the portal every year to try to add value and fill our holes and build our team, but not have to necessarily build our team out of the portal every year.
Yeah, and like you said, when you're looking at this and all of the positive changes and the things that you can highlight over $100 million new facility that you're moving into, just bring me into that and what that's doing for SMU and what is being upgraded, what's being changed. Like when you think about this facility that you're moving into, what some of those key pieces are that you think were necessary at SMU that are coming with this facility?
Well, it's a long list, but the biggest thing is we didn't have a football only facility here. Like we share our facility with other people, and that's not how power programs work. That's not how big time football programs work. And I think it should be said that Rick Hard and our administration and Gary Weber and Bill Armstrong, who gave a lot of gifts, and a bunch of other people to this project broke ground well before we were invited to the ACC. So we were already making the investments in our program. But the football facility, specifically being a football only facility, is a big deal because one, that's the player's home. If you just imagine if you were to go buy a home and buy a brand new home, like that's what they're getting.
Yeah.
They're getting a brand new locker room, brand new training room, equipment room, weight room that's 18,000 square feet, brand new coaches' offices, brand new meeting rooms, brand new training table with a performance chef to eat all their meals and like anything and everything that we either didn't have or was older they now have. And so I think for us, the biggest benefit, it helps in recruiting, but it also helps nowadays in retention
Yeah.
because you got players on your team that can leave every year. And if they don't have a great facility and they're not happy with their quote home, then, that's just one more issue you have to overcome. So I think we're going from needing a new facility no matter what to not only getting the new facility, but this is going to be top 10, 15 in the country. I mean, it's state of the art. It's not like we just got a new facility. We went all in. And then the last thing it does is it's in our south end zone and it closes our stadium in.
Yeah.
And so it makes our atmosphere much more intimate and much more powerful, I think.
And I love the city of Dallas, and I know that you have embraced that as an institution, not just a football program, and you see it in the logo with the triple D there, that this has been very much a passion project. What you're doing at SMU is a give back to Dallas, Texas, and just a love, wearing Dallas in cursive across your chest at times. There's just a lot to be said about that. The decision over these last few years to really just talk about we're not just SMU, but we are Dallas. This is our home. We wear them. We love them. They are us. We are them. When that decision was made, what do you think that's done for SMU to embrace Dallas, Texas, and to be so wanting to spotlight what home truly is for SMU?
Yeah, I think from a partnership and just a marketing opportunity, it's changed everything. When you take a program, like I've said, the conference change for us is big because I think our fan base and our school has so much appreciation and gratitude for the moment because we were on this stage and then we had it taken away. It's not like this is going to be our first time on the big stage of college football. But we had a program that had a long, rich history from Doak Walker to the Eric Dickerson days and 11 Southwest Conference championships and 3 claimed national titles and Heisman Trophy winners. And then we had gone through a drought for about 30 plus years. And what the partnership with the city of Dallas did was a couple things. One, from a marketing standpoint, it kind of operated as a rebrand for our program. And it made us more current, particularly to the age generation that are 30 and under that don't remember the glory days of SMU. That coupled with winning has made it cool to wear the triple D all over the city again. Yeah. I think Mayor Eric Johnson deserves a ton of credit. I mean, he was at my press conference 2.5 years ago and he said he wanted a championship. We got that done in year two, but now we're going to the ACC and he has championed that and he has supported that and he has been there for us. I think our recruiting efforts have been more all of Dallas incorporated. And so I think it's a big deal, but I think at the end of the day, the city of Dallas, to your point, is a great city. It's arguably the number one city in America. I mean, it's the number one city in the country for jobs. Sports Business Journal a year ago said it was the number one city in the country for sports and business. It's a top 5 media market. Everyone's moving here. It's safe. Our mayor's done a great job. The city of Dallas a city like Dallas deserves to have a big time college football team, a big time college athletics program. And we're able to provide that now as we're the only school within 30-mile drive of Dallas. And so I just think that partnership has really worked well for both sides, and we're honored to get to kind of, run around the country and play our games and say we're from Dallas.
Yeah, here with SMU Mustangs head football coach Rhett Lashlee inside of the Heritage Hill Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. SMU was a part of the creation of the American. We go back to 2013. This is how the record's gone: 5-7 for SMU, 5-7. 1-11, 2-10, 5-7, 7-6, 5-7. Then we go from 2019 on 10-3, 7-3, 8-4, 7-6, 11-3. And in that time period, it was Sonny Dykes to you. So, just what you can say about the history of the American. I know you've been the head coach for 2 years, going into your third year of being a head coach and first one in the ACC for SMU. But to look at these last few years and to have consistent winning records, like you said, in the state of Texas, when people think about Texas and Texas A&M and Texas Tech and so on and so forth, and Baylor, that there has been a level of consistency with SMU where we're not seeing 10-3, 1-11, 5-7, 4-8, 7-6. We're seeing a team that is consistently going to bowl games. We're seeing a team that started to win under Chad Morris, returned to the bowl world, then won under Sonny Dykes, and now is winning under you. And there's something to be said about the culture, the environment of who SMU football is when we can see coaching changes, we can see this inconsistency beforehand, and now we're seeing a team that is winning. It wasn't just winning under one coach. It wasn't just winning under one player. There's something about the culture at SMU, and I'd love for you to speak to that.
No, I love the question. I think winning's a habit, and our program has developed winning as a habit and something that is an expectation for our program. And to your point, a lot of coaches, particularly from about 2010 on, but even the ones before who went through some of the rough patches, all had a hand in getting the program back to where it is. And so
Yeah.
I'm just the one who's fortunate and humbled to get to be the head coach during this time. But no, I think there's a consistency in winning. You have to win. We started winning, 2019 was kind of the breakthrough year when we won 10 games. That was also the first year that kind of the partnership with the city of Dallas started, to your point earlier. So you have to win at a consistent level. You have to win big, two double-digit win seasons, games, on, the game day game of the week when we played Memphis in 19, being ranked both in 19 and last year in the college football playoff rankings. Like things like that are things you have to do. And then the elephant in the room is we had to break through and win a championship, and we had to then get into a power conference. But to your point, Rick Hart and Dr. Turner here were a part of SMU helping form the American Athletic Conference, and we're very grateful to that league. It's a fantastic league. You look at this year, I mean, I can't imagine having try to handicap that league with the Memphises and the UTSAs and what South Florida is going to be, and Tulane, with the new staff. Like, there's going to be a team out of that league in the college football playoff this year. And I think last year probably proved that they don't want to mess that up again. But it's just a fantastic league, and we're very appreciative of the opportunities we had to be a part of that league, hopefully add value to the league, and same to us, that got us to the point where we are. And it just ended up being a move our program had to make. But to your point, it's been a long road. A lot of people have had a hand in it, and I think that's why there's so much appreciation for the moment here.
Yeah, and seeing this road, I mean, the only program to ever go through the death penalty in football, right back in 1987 when it was handed down, I think February 25th, 1987, to see a team that went through that when no one else has experienced such a thing, and to have to endure that, it seemed like there had been decades of time of just not clicking, just things just not, like essentially of this Mustang, just those hooves not hitting the ground, just kind of hovering and trying to get down on the ground. And we saw that with Chad Morris, that it's like, okay, after something that happened such a long time ago, is this finally a program that's going to be viable in college football? And then with Sonny Dykes and now with you, to endure something like that as an institution and to be so unique in that, what do you think about when you look at SMU to the world and you know what the history was like and you know what SMU went through? Are we finally past that? Are the dark days over, so to speak? And what type of message do you think rings out from Dallas, Texas, from the campus of Southern Methodist?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And yes, I think without question, we're past those days. I think our program has been revitalized. Our school has been revived a little bit through this process. I think it's easy to look back now and say it was the most unjust penalty in the history of college athletics. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying that SMU didn't do anything wrong. No one would. And look, the excuse is never good, right? That just because everyone's doing it, that's why we did it. But everyone was doing it, and they chose to single out one program. Again, who was wrong, but nobody knew back then what a death penalty would do to a program. And I
Yeah.
think that's why it's never been done before to people that have done the same or worse since then, because I think they realize that's just very unfair and unjust of a penalty. Because we lost a generation of fans, and then you couple in few years later, when the Southwest Conference broke up, SMU, the city of Dallas, would have absolutely been in the new Big 12 if it had been under a different light at that time, but it just wasn't. And so then you get left behind in the conference piece. And then you go through a period of time where, if you're being honest, like most people would have thrown in the towel. Most programs with that kind of upset, shame, anger, whatever, would have just said, man, it's not worth it. And it's almost like getting knocked down in a boxing match and you're on the 9 count when you get up. But then there just started that process. And really, June Jones was the first one around 10 to start winning again and putting guys like Emmanuel Sanders and Kelvin Beachum and Cole Beasley in the league, et cetera. But there was a lot of coaches from Forrest Gregg on that kept the program alive. And then the coaches, to your point, till now that have brought us back. But I think the university, give or take some years, around 2010, just said we're all in
Yeah.
on starting to build our program back. The pain, the hurt had all subsided. Let's go. And I think you're looking at now, 15 years later, what that process has kind of given off as fruit. And we're back. We're in the ACC. We're considered a national brand anyways, but now we're starting to kind of get the respect we feel like we can garner at this place. And look, I don't know how long it's going to take us, but I know this: if we're given the same opportunities and resources everyone else around the country are given, we feel like we can compete at the highest level year in and year out. And so I think everything from the last 5 years to winning a championship to getting the ACC invite was kind of the last pieces that just kind of made that completely in the past.
Yeah, and I love the answer and I can appreciate it. When you look at where you are, like you said, if you were in a different light at the time, you believe SMU would have been in the Big 12. We know that the Big 12 has such an emphasis on Texas, or at least had such an emphasis on the state of Texas. The American Athletic that you are leaving, that you officially left on July 1st, 2024, they have put an emphasis on Texas. Now you're going into the ACC, which has no emphasis on Texas. The Atlantic Coast Conference sticking to the Atlantic Coast for the most part, and now taking two teams from California in Cal and Stanford, and taking one team from the state of Texas with SMU. What is that like, and what does that do? I know you said being in what you considered a power conference was the next step. You believe it's important, but now you are the lone representative from the Lone Star State.
I think it's a great advantage for us. And kind of finishing up your thought, I mean, think about it. When the Southwest Conference broke up, the Big 12 and every other conference chose to leave out Dallas and Houston. Like, think about that. That would never happen today, just the way TV is and media markets. But the American saw that as a positive, and it benefited both programs. And now we're both back on the stage. And yeah, I think for us it's unique. We're in a conference that, from an institution, the schools believe more like we do. The North Carolinas, the Miamis, even the Virginias, the Wake Forests, the Virginia Techs, the Dukes, the Clemsons. Like, we're kind of with a peer group that aligns with our school being an excellent academic institution that also wants to and is really good at athletics. So I think it's a fit. And I think, you given the fact that Dallas is pretty much most years number one or two in the country in most high school talent signing Division I scholarships. It's the number one city in the country for jobs. Everything that Dallas is and the state of Texas is from a football standpoint, the ACC saw that value. And so now that opens up this state to that conference. But to your point, in this state, there's two schools in the SEC. There's a bunch of schools in the Big 12 and the American, and then there's one school in the ACC, and that's us. And so it gives us a differentiator. We're playing on the big stage. We're in a comp. There's only three conferences right now that have big national brands, and we're in one of them. And we have a uniqueness that no one else has. And so I think that plays to our advantage for sure.
And as we look to this season, this first season inside the Atlantic Coast Conference for SMU, we look at the schedule that you have, which you had alluded to earlier. You're going to play all your non-conference right out of the gate here at Nevada, and then you'll have Houston, and then you'll have, or pardon me, HCU. So you'll go up against them, and when you go up against them, after that's a Houston Christian University, and then BYU and TCU, which is a game that I think is really interesting between you and the Horned Frogs. And then you'll have your first home game inside of the ACC when you face off against Florida State. That's family weekend, stripe out, and very excited for what that's going to look like at Gerald Ford Stadium on September 28th on a Saturday. Then you're going to be at Louisville, at Stanford, out in California, at Duke. So that's going to be interesting, a Kentucky, California, North Carolina road trip. Then you're home for Pittsburgh and Boston College. You're on the road at Virginia, and you'll finish up against Cal on November 30th at home. So it's going to be an interesting new life here in the ACC, and definitely that string of games that finds you in Kentucky, California, and North Carolina 3 weeks in a row is going to be a unique kind of placement there. Well, I should say 3 out of 4 weeks, as you will have a bye in between. It's October 5th at Louisville, then a break, then at Stanford October 19th, and October 26th at Duke, but 3 road games in a row. Just your thoughts on how the schedule maps out for the ACC in your first season in the conference.
Yeah, I think one, it's exciting. I mean, you just listed off our schedule, and that's 10 of our 12 games are against big time national, or regional opponents that have been in the power conferences other than BYU for a long time. And
Yeah.
so that's exciting. I think you look at our schedule in a lot of ways, it's a good schedule in that, 4 of our first 5 games are at home in August and September, and 3 of our last 4 games are at home in November, and we don't play at home in October, which is crazy. So, always I think get off to a good start. We were supposed to play Vanderbilt this year. They decided to opt out of that. So Nevada was great to pop on the schedule. So we open one at Nevada in week 0. So we start a week early. That'll be exciting to get going quick. And we get Houston Christian at home to open up our new facility and our new kind of stadium look.
Yeah.
And then you look at that after those 2 games, hopefully you're healthy and playing well and you can find a way to be, able to win those games. But then you got BYU at home, TCU at home, Florida State at home, 3 weeks in a row. Like, when was the last time SMU got to play BYU, TCU, Florida State at Ford Stadium? So that's what the conference gives us, being in a league, being on that national stage. Now that's a heck of a schedule, and that's a heck of a stretch. And then to your point, after that, you go 3 straight weeks on the road, not only Louisville, but then you go West Coast to East Coast. And so, but man, it's exciting. I think one of the things that I've never played week 0, and it is a leap year. And when you get a leap year, you get 2 bye weeks, and then week 0, you get a third. And so the way our schedule worked out is kind of interesting. I don't know if I'll like it or not. We'll see at the end. Normally, I'd say no,
Yeah.
because if you're playing good, you want to keep playing. And if you're not playing good, you want to fix it. But we never play more than 3 games in a row without a bye week. And you start thinking about a program moving up in weight class, going into the ACC, the week in, week out grind, the physicality, the depth. Those are the things that concern you in that transition. And so we're going to play 3 games and have an off week, and play 3 games and have an off week, and play 3 games and have an off week, and play 3 games. That could really, in a unique way, be a benefit to us, because it allows us hopefully to stay fresher and healthier as we go 10 straight weeks playing power conference opponents, which we haven't done, in over 25, 30 years.
Before we jump into rapid fire, being in a conference that is currently going through a legal battle with some of its members, does that concern you at all that Clemson has a lawsuit, Florida State has a lawsuit? You're not playing Clemson this year, but you are playing Florida State. The thought that you're entering a conference where there could still be movement in the ACC, and 2 of the identifiers in football, probably the most notable identifiers in football, Clemson and Florida State, could be looking to exit and go into a different conference. Does that matter to you, of going into the ACC, calling it a power and knowing what it can be for SMU, if in fact we do see some teams exit, knowing that there is a legal conversation going on over the grant of rights right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not ideal. Anyone would admit that, but no, it doesn't. One, because I don't have any control over it. But 2, I think the Atlantic Coast Conference is much more powerful than just 1 or 2 teams. And you look at, we got 17 teams now, and 18 if you count Notre Dame and everything except football. And I think you got to look to the fact that the numbers from revenue shared to TV deals to championships won to big games on the schedule this year, without question, say it's not even close. It's one of the best three leagues. But you look at the Big 12 that lost Texas and OU. They're only two big national brands and identifiers, and they're still a league and a good league, right? And so, in the event that a few teams ever left, you're still going to have a really good league that people are going to want to be a part of. And so, no, it doesn't concern me. All that stuff will work itself out. I think the next 5 to 7 years of college athletics, nobody really knows what's going to happen. But what I do know is that SMU is in the power conversation now. We're in the Power Four conference level. We have a seat at the table. We have the means and wherewithal and the commitment to do anything and everything that everyone else is going to do at that level, to allow ourselves to be a part of whatever shifts come next in the future. But I know this, being in the Atlantic Coast Conference is a big deal for SMU. I think it's a big deal for all the teams in our league, and that stuff will work itself out. But no, it really doesn't, because I think you see the conferences that have the staying power, and ACCs without question one of them.
That coming from Rhett Lashlee. Appreciate that, and definitely appreciate the outlook in controlling what you can control. We're going to jump into rapid fire here inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Rhett, you got the first question. What do you got for me?
I'm asking you.
Yes, you can ask me
It's
whatever.
been a minute. I've turned my brain off.
You're all good.
Right, who's going to win the American Conference this year?
Oh, boy. Why has everybody got to ask me this really, really tough question? I think there's a bunch of teams that are capable. Feet to the fire right now. I would probably lean a little bit more UTSA, but and Tulane not having Willie Fritz, I know that he's built them into something. He wins everywhere he goes, and that's a true statement. But I'm going to miss him there, and Michael Pratt, obviously, and some of the other guys. But I think there's a few teams. I think UAB is a little sneaky. I think Memphis is a little sneaky. But if I had to say it right now, I say UTSA. My question back to you is, how would you describe Jim Phillips as a leader now that you're going into a conference with him as commissioner?
Yeah, I think steady, positive, incredibly optimistic and hopeful about the future. I have been impressed. Leadership's tough, and leadership's lonely, and especially when you're a head coach or an AD or a president or a commissioner of a league, like there's a lot on your plate, and so much happens in the media that you can't control. And honestly, if you tried to, you'd go crazy. And to
Yeah.
be able to stay steady and lead with a steady hand, with an optimistic outlook on not only the present, but the future, I've been really impressed with that. So really grateful that he saw in our institution what I think people, even though we haven't played a game yet, and look, we got a lot to go earn, and we got our work cut out for us to prove that we belong over the next several years on this stage. But I think just with the way we've prepared and the kind of fundraising and all the things that people have done, I think people have already noticed that it was a wise move to get into the state of Texas and Dallas and a school like SMU. So we're very grateful to him for that.
Final question that you got for me, Coach. What is it?
Who who's the four teams getting a bye in the playoff this year?
Oregon. I'm going to say Oregon. I'm going to say, Big 12. That's tough. Baylor. I'm feet to the fire right now in this moment. Florida State. And, so I did the Big 12. I did and then the SEC. And Georgia. Those are the four that I'm going to say right now in this moment.
I'm going to break your rules. I get an amendment. How many years until the Mustangs are in the playoffs?
I'm going to tell you this right now. The ACC, Clemson hasn't been what they used to be, but I have the utmost respect for Dabo Swinney and well beyond football, being a man of God and speaking the way that he does about the more important things. But I would say, I think that SMU, I'm going to put it to you like this. Florida State has gotten better with Mike Norvell, which I said would happen because I was with him at Memphis. And Dabo Swinney, as long as he's in Clemson, I think that they're a guiding light for the conference. But within that top three, the world is open. So I think the relevancy of SMU, you weren't given the respect nationally and you weren't given the respect inside of the American by people from the outside looking in. And I thought that that was stupid because you played spoiler over the years to a bunch of really good teams. And I think that SMU can hang. So I am not going to say that anybody should take you lightly. But, you know, being a fan of you, Rhett, and being a fan of what you're doing, I hope some teams take you lightly so that you can go out there and show them what it is. That's what I'll say.
Well answered.
My final question back to you. I'm going to be down in the Dallas Arlington area, obviously with AAC kickoff before I head to ACC kickoff. What is one thing I need to do in Dallas while I'm there?
Well, see, that puts me in a greatly tough spot because whoever I leave out is like, uh,
Yeah.
well, the number one thing you need to do is come by and see us, and see our new facility and what we got going on, and see SMU for the first time as a member of the ACC. But I also think you need to go down to our buddies at Terry Black's and get you some barbecue in Deep Ellum.
All right, Terry Black's, because I was given a place in Fort Worth, and I'm not going to say what it was, but it let me down. So you gave me
not surprising.
So what is the place called in Dallas? Terry Black's?
Terry Black's, and they're not the only good. We got Hutchins is good. The Pecan Lodge is famous, but Terry Black's is it's about 8 minutes from campus in Deep Ellum, and they got the best ribs, the best beef ribs, the best everything you could ever imagine.
All right. Well, I'm going to take you up on that. Based on traveling schedule, maybe you and I can actually cross. I think there's a window where we might be able to cross paths. So that invitation to SMU, if you're going to be there, Coach, and we can make it happen, then let's do that.
Awesome. Love to have you.
Rhett Lashlee, once again, a true pioneer in the work that he's doing right now and somebody that I respect very much so. SMU Mustangs head football coach heading into the 2024-25 season. Coach, you already know that on and off the field, you got a lot of respect coming from me and a lot of appreciation for the fact that you always make time. So I can't say enough to your character. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Much reciprocated back to you.
Yes, sir.